Hey, what's up guys? It's Cliff from TRD Pro. Really pumped to be back with you today. We're going to be installing an ICS Fab 4Runner Dash Mount in this 2020 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. Installation of this dash mount is super easy. We're talking 30 minutes to an hour. And once it's done, we have an extremely clean way to mount just about whatever you want at eye view in your Toyota 4Runner. Why is that of importance? Well, it keeps your eyes closer to the road. All right, guys, it's very minimal tools to get this job done efficiently and quickly. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, to get this installation started, we need some painter's tape or scotch tape, something like that. We need to cover the top corner of each of your audio system so that we can mark some holes. So we're doing this on the top and the side because we need to mark holes on the side here of the dash as well. Doesn't have to be the most pretty thing in the world, just has to be functional and make sure it sticks. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've mounted the dash mount up here on top of our painter's tape because we need to mark our holes for drilling. There's two holes that we need to mark here on the top and then one on each side. And in order to access those holes, you'll actually have to use, unless you have a super skinny marker or pen, you could use that, but we're actually just going to use a really thin Phillips head screwdriver to make these marking holes for our drilling here in the tape, and just kind of go gently into the tape there just to mark our holes. And we're going to do it on this side as well. There we go. And then here. All right. All right. Now let's remove this gently and let's take a look at the holes that we kind of marked into the tape. Okay. Yeah, I can clearly see them. Got one here on the top, one here on this side on the top, and then one on each side into the tape. So just give it gentle pressure into the holes. You can see here, these are the holes that we're marking there and there, and then one on each side as it's placed into position as we just had. That part is done. So now what we need to do is we need to remove the entire head unit. So let's get started with that. So we're just going to start with the side panels, which we will remove one at a time. And again, this just takes gentle pressure and you can pull straight out. And then the AC column. And this just has a connector in the back, and then it has a little mounting tab here, which you can use a screwdriver or a panel tool to kind of release the tabs here, which will allow you to get it out. There we go. All right, now that we've got that all taken out, we have 4 10mm bolts under here, right underneath the head unit that we need to remove. And I would just place these in the cup holder as you are removing them so you won't lose them. And you want to keep your hand near the bolts while you're removing them, so they don't fall into oblivion. All right, we've got all of our 10mm bolts removed. All right, now we're going to remove the head unit, but before we did that, we placed a microfiber towel down here so that we can rest the screen of the head unit on it while we remove all of the plugs. But in order to remove the head unit, all we do is pull one side at a time, top and bottom, sort of gentle pressure, pulling straight out right now. All right, so we're just pulling that out and we're going to rest it right here on top, just gently. And then we're actually just going to remove all of the plugs back here because we need to take the entire head unit out. If some of them are tricky to remove, you can use a screwdriver to compress the tab. All right, we've got everything removed from All of the plugs removed from the back of the head unit. Don't be alarmed if yours doesn't look exactly like this behind. It's going to look similar, but we've got a lot of extra accessories going on back there. But we're going to take this over to the bench, and we are going to get it ready for the next step, which is mounting our 4Runner dash mount. So we brought over the head unit over to the bench, and as you saw before, because we had to work in tight spaces and a Sharpie won't fit in the tight spaces to mark our holes, we used a really thin screwdriver to mark some holes. I'm just, again, for simplicity here, when we want to drill the holes, I'm just marking where our marks are so that we won't mess up when it's time to drill. All right, now that we've marked our holes with a Sharpie for better visibility, we're gonna get started with the drilling. This is a 9/64 drill bit. So we're gonna get started on the hole right here. And this is plastic, so just go slow. There's no reason to send it on this one, believe it or not. All right, there's hole number one. Hole number two. Hole number three, and last hole. All right, so now that we have our holes drilled, it's time to remove our painter's tape. All right, guys, if your painter's tape has left any residue up here, go ahead and clean it off before you mount this, because it's going to be pretty hard to get to once you mount it. All right, next we need to find the piece that is from the power pack pouch that mounts the power pack, and it goes right in position down here, if you can see that. There's two mounting holes here, which we can put our screws through. And then we'll put the nut on the other side. You can see that. All right, so now we've got our lock nuts into position, and now we're just going to tighten them down. All right, so we have it in position here. Everything is tightened down. Give it the good wiggle test. It's not moving at all, so we're good to go there. We are now ready to mount our dash mount. All right, so for the dash mount portion, there are two different length screws. There are shorter screws, which are here, and longer screws, which are here. The longer screws are for the top, and the shorter screws are for the sides. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with the top screws. All right, so we've got one in. Let's get the other side. All right, so we've got those in. All right, guys, so we've removed the vents, and just to show you, there are tabs around each vent that you need to pull back. You see how this tab here moves? So with a flathead screwdriver, a long one, you'll pull each of these tabs back. Here's another one over here. There's two back here, and then another one here in the corner, and another one here in the corner. Essentially what you're doing is you're pulling them back, and then at the same time pulling gentle pressure up on the tab, going from corner to corner, pulling up slightly, and then eventually the vent will become loose and will remove. And what that does is it gives us an much easier ability to get the locking nut on, as you can see here, in position here. Without that, I mean, we had the vent here all in this space, which made this really tricky. So that's definitely the easiest way. So we're just gonna get those started on each side, and then we'll hammer them down. All right, we are good. Now we gotta tighten down the sides. Okay, now the last side. All right, we are good. Let's just have a look at it. All right. Looks good. All right, let's go ahead and get the vents back in. In case you don't know which is which, it does say right and left, and that's as you're facing it. So this will be going in on this side. And they certainly snap in super easy. And this one says left. So we'll go ahead and snap that into position. All right. We're good to go there. Let's go ahead and put our trim piece back on. And this just slides into position, has tabs to line up. And put the 2 little screws back into position. All right, we are good to go there. All right, so there she is so far. All right, so since we'll be using the USB power pack, which is going to mount right in here, right in this location, we need to create a space to route our wires through the dash in a clean way. We've gone ahead, and if you can see it, we've marked a spot right there with a Sharpie, and that's where we're going to drill a hole to run our wires through for power. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've drilled a 1/4 inch hole right here. And what that is for us to cleanly run our wires. All right, so we're just gonna pull the wire all the way through. And then we need to route these through because they're gonna go into the back of the power source. Okay. So you can see on the switch, we have positive and negative. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll do red to positive and black to negative. All right. And I want the switch to open this way, like that. So I'm gonna mount it like that. And we're just gonna pull it through. All right. Okay, so just give it a little push and it pushes into position, and that looks really clean. Looks great. All right, guys, back in the rig. Let's go ahead and we're gonna get all of our connections made. And again, we have the head unit resting on the shift knob with a microfiber. So let's go ahead and start with these connections. And again, these are all keyed plugs, so they will go with their mate. All right, so we've got everything plugged in here. It's always nice to just give it a check here, make sure you don't have any loose plugs anywhere before you kind of go back in, but everything is covered here. So now we're gonna kind of lift this up here, and we need to route our power wire so that it drops down. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. We need it to come out the section right below the head unit. So right out through here, okay? Because we're gonna be connecting it to a power source that is coming out of the 12-volt cigarette lighter. So now we're going to get our head unit back into position. We're going to gently guide it back, make sure none of the wires are blocking anything. All right. And we're going to be pushing it in position here. All right, we are in position. We are looking good. Perfect, man. That looks great. All right, so next step that we got to take care of is we need to get power to our power source, which is right up here. All right, to gain access to the 12 volt, we're just going to remove these bolts here. And again, these are 10 mils. All right, we've got access to the 12 volt power plug, and here's our power wire right here. We've pushed back, there's tape and a wire loom here, which we've pushed back to really be able to get access to the power wire. And we're gonna use our T-tap in order to tap into the power source there. So let me go ahead and slide this in. All right, we've got our T-tap onto the 12 volt power source, and then we've got our new power source put into the other side. So we're gonna go ahead and clamp this down. All right, so we've got that clamped down, and we're gonna put our cover over. All right, so we should be good there. Now we're gonna work on the other side, the ground wire. All right, so now we're getting in the ground wire from the power source, and got that there, and got a ground wire from the USB. All right. Let's go ahead and clamp that down. All right, let's cover it up. All right, so let's go ahead and plug this back in to the 12 volt. All right. All right, let's go ahead and put it in accessory power. Oh, lights up there, that's a good sign. So I'd imagine that means we have power there. So let me just plug in my phone up here, and there you go. We've got power, charging. We seem to be in great shape. Let's keep going. All right, so we've tested our power source. We're good to go up here. Let's go ahead and start with reassembly. So we're gonna get all of our 10 mils back into place. Okay, look good there. So let's go ahead and reattach our AC panel. Has one plug we got to plug in to make it work, and we can put our mounting tab back in as well. And we slide this back into place. All right, we're good there. And start with our side pieces here. All right, we're good. And last, certainly not least, all right, we are looking pretty, man. That looks fantastic. We're gonna mount some things up here so that it looks nice and cool. We're gonna put our phone up here, and then a couple other things soon down the road, a CB, and just a variety of other things as sort of time progresses. But you know, this is an excellent upgrade for the Toyota 4Runner so that you can cleanly mount and power just about any of your devices, and keeps it high up here on the dash instead of being down here, so that a notification or something like that may, you know, take your eyes off the road. So again, that wraps this up for today. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. This will be available in the TrailGrid Pro shop, www.trailgridpro.com. And as always, guys, have a blast out there.